You see a game on the holy BGG, then look at the weight and be like, whoa, that seems like a high number, I think. This John Company is a 4.44 out of 5. I think that means it's pretty heavy. I think. How are these scores getting made? This isn't exactly the most sophisticated system. Maybe this number isn't taken seriously by you, it wasn't by me for a while, but some people do use it. I mean, it is at the top of the webpage, and wrong scores could be pushing people away from games that are right for them. Man, after having spent so many years in the hobby, I wasn't even sure what a blank out of 5 meant. So I decided to get to the bottom of it. What is a Candyland weight versus a TI4? What does this all mean for the legendary BGG Top 100? Could things be improved for newcomers and veterans of the hobby with some simple fixes? I've previously decoded the BGG rating system. Now I'm coming for you, the BGG weight system. This video is brought to you by Ascension.gg. This is a private free-to-play World of Warcraft server, so you can play for the Horde. It revolves around being classless, where you can pick your own unique hero by combining abilities from all classes. I gave it a quick run, and it was a fun mix of nostalgia with some added quality of life stuff. Like, the game feels much faster with the draft builds, where you can just learn preset ability trees to combo together. I used the Wind Berserker in the starting area, and it was so fast. And you can go even faster with the leveling draft builds.
Dude. Okay, this does not happen in normal WoW.
The new season also has tons of new modes, including the wildcard mode. When we tried it out, it was super busy. It's where you get random abilities as you level, and you can roll a loadout right when you start, and you can re-roll it. Once you've rolled your initial build, you can refine it by playing through the end game and prestiging. That's basically infinite replayability. So click the link in the description below to play Ascension. Wow, Destiny's Dawn for the new season. Back to the video. How it work? Essentially, the BGG weight number is a community rating, where literally anyone can vote between a 1 through 5 on how complex or heavy they think the game is. And BGG doesn't strictly define weight, since it's kind of slang anyways, and so this is basically the most unscientific thing ever, and we'll get back to that though. If you actually click through this area, it tells you how many people voted in each category. Not so popular games can have their complexity ratings be taken with a grain of salt, because that could be like 1 to 3 votes. This could all be the designer who might mislabel their game, or their friends. If we take a very popular game like TI4, sure, there's a ton of ratings, so some weird ones will get evened out by the masses. Hopefully, this is another thing we'll get back to. Examples! Let's start with the heaviest game I've ever played, according to BoardGameGeek. That is John Company 2nd edition, and that's gonna have a weight of 4.44 out of 5. If we click through, a whopping 59% of people voted this as the maximum 5, or heavy on the scale. Why is this game where you take on the roles of ambitious 18th century families within the British East India Company so heavy? On the surface, there's lots of components, a long runtime, and plenty of rules. The rulebook is thick, and while deciphering it, you'll notice a lot of phases being broken down. On every round, there's literally 9 phases. And these aren't just drawing cards as your phase. Oh, no. Every phase has multiple headings. For example, the first meaty phase, called the family phase, has everyone choose one of their 6 actions on their player board. That doesn't sound too bad. Then we go to the next phase where you start hiring. But oh wait, this dysfunctional corrupt company has all sorts of rules and exceptions for hiring. And just take a look at this diagram here about the hierarchy of things. If you think about how some games you're given special role cards, in John Company, you can have multiple role cards, since your family is all straddling different positions of the government, and so different members will have effectively their own turns with special abilities. This is just getting us started on the ridiculous ways to wheel and deal within your playgroup, asking for future favors by hiring their incompetent nephews now, or spending money to expand trade to your favorite parts of India, or being seemingly generous towards the company while setting up a nasty blackmail card. Everything's all about how can my family become the best. And remember, the British East India Company is still a company with financial health, and it is taking debt and has to meet its investors' expectations unless you're actively rooting against the company. Then at the end of a round, random events will happen, which might need something like this to help decode, and this will have potentially big changes on the game state. Then you all vote using 1 to 2 drawn bills. Then a wheel will determine additional consequences if you pass said bill. This is all a very streamlined explanation of this 4.44 weight game, since we got other games to cover. So to end quickly, we'll just point out there's additional deregulation rules you can play for different setups of the game, so there's modules for more complexity. An easily 4 to 6 hour game. Let's jump back and cover a light game. What about Cards Against Humanity? Yep, we're going there in the lightness. There's a judge that reads out a black card. Then everyone else chooses a white card from their hand and then puts it down to try to answer that prompt in the funniest or most appropriate way. Then the judge will look through all the white cards, pick the one they like the most. That one wins. That was fast, probably 30 minutes to an hour if you haven't finished the game. I mean, some people just get too blasted to keep playing the game. And yes, I just contrasted John Company's second edition with Cards Against Humanity. Never thought the day would come. Smack in the middle, according to BGG, is Dune Imperium at a 3.04. This thematic Euro has you tracking two main sources of victory points. You want to win fights on the planet and be high on the alliance paths, all while juggling the worker placement plus deck building concepts, with some slight asymmetry from every player. Then there's intrigue cards people can suddenly whip out during fights or other phases of the game. Game is about 1 to 2 hours. Inaccuracies. Okay, so now that we have a feeling of the games in the 1, 3, and 5-ish range, let me reveal that the more I looked into this community rating system, the more I didn't like it. I thought that, hey, quantity of votes is not quality, so people are probably voting kind of weird. So I looked at Candyland for its rating of 1.10. This seems low, but it should actually be lower, because I didn't realize this growing up, but the game literally plays itself. There's a TTS mod to have the game just end immediately, and some people ranked it a 2. That means they think it's a light to medium game. Candyland is ranked higher than Telestrations, a drawing game where you have to draw and guess what other people drew. That's some brain power. How is this lighter than a game that plays itself? So then for fun, I went through the BGG top games that I've played to see that if things are truly that inaccurate. One spreadsheet later, I found that out of the 51 I've played, 35 I actually agree with, as in it felt loosely within 0.3 to 0.5 range of what I would rate them. Obviously, this is a pretty vibe-based thing, but this is impressive. Now let's dial in what's going on with the 16 I had issues with. Well, TI4 sticks out like a sore thumb to me because it's rated as heavier than its predecessor, TI3, and this holds no weight as an idea to me because this is intentionally more streamlined than this. Like, look at this mess of a tech web in TI3 compared to TI4 just needing a color to upgrade, and components were mega streamlined in TI4. The moment I saw Star Wars Rebellion listed as a 3.74, I had to chuckle, since that means it's only slightly heavier than Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, and I will tell you that Star Wars Rebellion's stacks of rules, in-depth mission cards, and variety of strategy is much above Jaws of the Lion's streamlined co-op approach to big box Gloomhaven. Good job, BGG. Give me the reasons. What's going on with these ones that feel a bit wonky? If we back up, remember that BGG never clearly defined weight as a term. People could interpret it as a game being complicated, or stressful, or just having a lot of rules, or just having a lot of components, etc. I don't know, whatever gives my mom a headache the most. Within that really vague definition, voting tendencies are going to be massively different. One is that the type of player rating a game truly influences how heavy they rate games, and certain players are more drawn to certain games. Wargamers are a really different breed. I figured that out after playing the World War II naval simulator, Atlantic Chase, and agonizing over its rulebook. I'd imagine that this hugely different tolerance for complexity explains why the rating for the Cold War simulator, Twilight Struggle, is lower than the aforementioned Jaws of the Lion, who might have people new to board games playing it since Jaws of the Lion is sold at Target. You are not going to find war games in your normal Target store. Sci-fi fans also might be built different, because look at Star Wars Rebellion's listed weight versus War of the Ring, and both of these games are often mentioned in the same two-player epic conversation. And Eclipse seems extraordinarily low for it having an entire rock, paper, scissors dynamic about building your opponent's ships. Why is TI4 listed so heavy then? Well, this is the most accessible version of a space opera, so that might invite more non-hardcore players who play it and go like, oh man, this is definitely the biggest, most heaviest game I've ever played. Bam, 5 out of 5. If only they knew what this expansion did to the weight of the game. Oh yeah, expansions. Let's talk about how games are weighted for their expansions, or in the case of LCGs, their entire card pool. Because base game of Arkham Horror LCG doesn't have that much going on, except when you throw in all the deck building and all the scenario possibilities from the different packs. People use extraneous sites to keep track of decks, so then this higher rating makes sense. Same with Spirit Island. I'm sure this heaviness rating is getting boosted by the expansions, where you have more complicated spirits to play. Can't forget about the learning experience either. John Company, even though yes you are a heavy game, you could not escape me in the discussion because its rulebook is notoriously bad. But then when you teach the game to others, it doesn't take that long. Basically, owning the game and ranking it is a whole different experience than being asked to play by the owner. Hard rulebook navigating does not necessarily mean a game is complicated. Lastly, time length in general seems to be strongly pushing up weight, We talked about TI3 before, but let's talk about Eldritch Horror and one of the old classics, Battlestar Galactica. And if we take a look at these games, these are games where you mostly just move your character and then perform 2 simple actions. To give a comparison, these 2 Ameritrash games are rated higher than this Eric M. Lang area control Rising Sun. Rising Sun is definitely heavier, but can be shorter too. But regardless, it's a highly political, cutthroat, asymmetric area control, where every combat is a minigame. In Eldritch Horror, combat is literally just roll dice. Aha! Get high number. But wait, you must say, the time length does contribute to heaviness, because the heaviness factors in the ease of play and how tired you feel after the game ends. Okay, yes, and again, weight truly means things to different people. And this goes perfectly into my potential solutions for this BGG weight system. People aren't reading this before they vote, okay? Divide this very broad weight term, which is pretty much slang, into 4 categories. 1. Component size, self-explanatory. 2. Ease of play, factors in the rules, rulebook, and general first or second game experience. 3. Depth of play. What is the amount of stuff the players can learn about the game beyond just the rules? Like different openings and build paths, like how much can you strategy guide for the game? And lastly, 4. Luck and random factors. Why not give people more information at the very top of each game's page? Oh, and also definitely don't show the rating if there's less than a certain amount of votes. Maybe 30 is a good place to start according to my statistics classes. Granted, as I said, I don't disagree with too much of the BGG top 100's weight, so if the system isn't going to change, at the very least, flesh it out with descriptors. Say 1 is simplest game I've ever played, Candyland. Then 5 is extremely complicated, hard to learn, and tons of components and modules. Maybe it's time for people to get more information when they research a game and look at it at a glance. Or maybe there's some other ways to improve it I haven't thought of. I'll be reading you guys in the comments. So one day, maybe Twister will be rated as less complicated as Telestrations. Okay, I have to jump in here because I realized that while editing this, the BGG weights would change from when I wrote the script to when I'm editing it now. It's infuriating. I could have sworn Twister was rated as less complicated than Telestrations, so now I look like an idiot, or at least my previous self looks like an idiot. I also realized there was a ton of troll ratings. See this Candyland on screen with people rating a 5 out of 5. Come on guys, it's not the heaviest game you played. It's not heavy. Candyland is not heavy. As such, maybe a Bayesian average with dummy votes, like how the Geekscores are calculated, would work for this BGG weight system. Anyways, I'm having so many questions on how this will be done, so hopefully you guys in comments will give me some inspiration. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Bye-bye for now. Mods help. Mods. Anyways, that was the video on the BGG weight. I didn't pay attention to this until some of my friends started pointing it out. Anyways, thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. We got you guys. We got all you guys right here. Thank you guys so much. And again, thank you to our man that's a cardboard. All right, that's been a crazy January. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye. See ya. Bye-bye.